Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast.
Welcome back to another show of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. I'm your host, Matt High, joined by Chris and Rich. How are you guys doing this fine evening? Ready to talk some Dynasty trade targets, some early Dynasty trade targets?
100%. Can't wait.
Season's almost done. We got Pro Bowl games this weekend. Then we have the Super Bowl of the Kansas City Chiefs and the 49ers. That should hopefully be a good game. I'm personally rooting for the 49ers, but that is just me. Do you guys have anyone you prefer to win, or do you just not care?
I personally have money on the Chiefs winning, although I kind of want them to lose. I'd rather have the 49ers win personally, but like if the Chiefs win, I guess I'm not unhappy to a certain degree. I'm very 50-50. I was really hoping the Super Bowl was going to be something else. To be honest with you, but I'm gonna say 49ers. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely 49ers as well, which I'm going to say it's got to be the majority of America is going to be rooting for the Niners. It's just that type of dynasty that we're over. We don't want to see it anymore.
What I'm not excited for is when the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, we get to hear everyone say that no one believed in us and we did all this. It's like this is your sixth consecutive AFC Championship game. So I'm pretty sure everyone figured you were going to be good and figure it out because you're a good football team. I'm just sick of that narrative, but it should be a good game, hopefully. But we'll see.
Hopefully, we'll see. We'll see. I have such a weird feeling about the Super Bowl. I don't know. This one's so.
Yeah,
it's
going to be interesting.
Can we talk about the real Super Bowl really fast? Let's forget about the Niners and the Chiefs. Who are we on? Team Eli or Team Peyton? Am I right? I mean, that's the only real Super Bowl here. I mean,
I gotta go Eli. Gotta go Eli.
Team Eli.
I mean,
listen, anything to have Peyton Manning scream on the field as Kirk Cousins takes another knee on the football field, screaming that you can't do that in flag football. Great times. Yeah, I'll take one of those, please.
I'm a little excited to watch this year. I feel like it's going to be pretty good. I know Gardner Minshew is now in it, so that'll be fun. It's going to be. It's going to be.
Mayfield's like an alternate, I believe, or a replacement, whatever they're calling him for the game.
Yeah. Either way, it's going to be fun. All right, I'm still getting over a little bit of a cold, so I will do my best to mute and not cough into the microphone. Had COVID like a month ago, and coughs are great.
Counter.
Oh, it's great. I would exceed it. You would need like 4 of them to do. It's been rough, but we're gonna do some questions that we have a Reddit account and we started scrolling through the Reddit verse to see what we could find, and found a couple interesting ones. So I'm gonna give a couple. Just let me know which side you're on and what your thoughts are. So first one comes in from Adam74. Getting rid of the trade deadline in his dynasty league. Some of his league mates are looking or asking about removing the trade deadline. Now, some are against. There's really strong. No one's really in the middle from what I've read about on similar questions. Do you guys prefer to have the trade deadline, or would you allow playoff teams to, up until the championship week, make some moves? What do you think, Rich?
No, I definitely think there's got to be a deadline. It's too much can happen during the playoffs, and at that point, at some point you got to cut off the lifeline of hope that you can get from a last second trade to just pivot when you have an injury or something happens. I mean, at some point you just gotta just play with the cards you're dealt. Or at least that's how I see it. So it's all good to trade during the early part, but gotta have a deadline.
All right, Chris.
So funny enough, I actually used to think that there should be no trade deadline. I used to be in that mentality. I'm like, I think that'd be a lot more, you know, that'd be, oh my God, that'd be crazy. It's like, this trade happened and now he's able to win the chip. Like, that'd be awesome. But then I thought about it like a month or two later and I was like, that sounds so stupid. Like, could you imagine you're in like the finals of your fantasy football championship and you have like you don't have any picks, you have like nothing. You're getting in there and your opponent, um, yeah, like they're like a quarterback, let's say, get injured that like week before. You're feeling really good. You also are suffering from injuries, but you're fine. But then your opponent, because they have a bunch of more ammo to trade, they get a replacement and they win off of it, and you couldn't compete because you didn't have anything. Like, I was like, no, no. So I'm gonna agree with Richie. That there should be a trade deadline, 100%.
Yeah, that's where I lean too. It's all about preparation. I was doing this. That's why I made some trades before the trade deadline in a few leagues this year because I was looking ahead. Like that's part of fantasy football. It's not just like you only look at 1 week at a time. You got to look once you start getting close to the playoffs. That's where you start looking like, all right, what position might I need to fill? Do I have stability here? Do I need to look at upside? Those are areas where you need to do. And I don't think you should reward someone for making it to that point and then reward them with, oh, here, you didn't plan right. Go have a championship because you can send your second round, your late first round pick for someone to fill your team. So I agree with that. I think you should keep the trade deadline. In our dynasty league, what we do is there's no set trade deadline on the app, but we have an honorary trade deadline in our league bylaws of Thanksgiving. Kickoff of Thanksgiving, that's when all trades need to be done by. It's worked out pretty well. We've been doing this league for, I think we're going on year 6 now. So no one's complained. So it's an idea for you. All right. So next question here comes in from Goal Scary 9095. He's asking, which side of the trade are you on? Now, it's a 12-team league. It's a super flex tight end premium. Option 1 is Justin Herbert. Would you trade him for Chris Olave and the 2024 105 pick, which is probably going to be a wide receiver or maybe one of the quarterbacks, depending on how it falls. Chris, we'll start with you. Which side are you taking?
So obviously, this is very dependent on your quarterback situation, but hypothetically speaking, in my shoes, if I feel like I am okay at the QB position, I am 100% taking this trade. I think, in my personal opinion, I'm actually looking at the draft list now, and with the 5th overall pick, you were getting Jaden Daniels. So there's your replacement right there and then. I take it back. I actually lied. Jaden Daniels is actually going fourth overall in projections. You actually get Neighbors, which is still
It's still
not
early
bad.
though. Yeah, it's still
Yeah,
early,
still
so
early.
that's going to change
And,
a lot.
God knows who person in front of you could very easily, like stuff like that, between one pick difference, easily could be swayed one way or the other. And you can also use that pick to trade up if you really feel, like you're not confident you're going to get that player. I think I would take this. I feel like there's a lot of potential. I like Olave. Um, I like having the early pick. And like I said, if you're not really that stressed in the quarterback position, I would do it.
What about you, Rich? Which side are you on?
I mean, yeah, just start. Yeah, it's really situational, of course. I mean, I don't know if I would say like if you're giving up Justin Herbert. I mean, if you are giving up Justin Herbert, you have to be good at the quarterback position, which in a dynasty superflex, it's really a hard thing to have two good quarterbacks running at all times. So I'd imagine you probably need Justin Herbert. So with that 105, you most likely are looking to get a quarterback, and with it not being Caleb Williams, I mean, I just don't know what kind of production you're going to get out of that one. That quarterback that you get. I mean, granted, we see quarterbacks still taken in the first round, produce and do good. It's not. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It's just I don't know. I'm really enticed into seeing what's going to happen over there in LA with Harbaugh coming into town now, kind of running the show. We know the success that he has had, so I'm excited for Justin Herbert. I think better days are ahead there. Yeah. I mean, I don't think Olave and the 105 is enough to take Justin Herbert away from me. Is what I'm saying. So I personally think you can get higher than the 105 for Herbert.
Yeah, I think so too. It's tough, like you said, situationally. If you're okay, I mean, Justin Herbert has been great, but he's also been a little hit or miss. The past 2 seasons specifically. I could see how this
But this
deal gets done, but
this is a whole new show. We're talking Harbaugh's coming into town, so
My
I don't
only
know.
concern, I don't see personally. I don't doubt Justin Herbert. I doubt what's around him. I mean, you look at like Keenan Allen's great, right? Mike Williams is also
Right.
fine, but like we can't ignore that not only the age but also like the injury history on both those players, right? Like there's no way you can just ignore that. If he gets new weapons, fine, sure. Um, then
Yeah,
you can hold fast and die on that hill. But
but who's to say
that's what
they
I'm
don't have a
thinking
good
of.
draft as well and just kind of bolster
True.
themselves? And I mean, who knows, right? Who knows? But first things first, you got to have a solid head coach and a solid quarterback, of which the Chargers now have both.
yeah. Yeah, it's not a slight against Justin Herbert. I think I would still lean the Justin Herbert side just because it's hard to give away a foundational piece on your, especially super flex. Like they have so
Well,
much value.
that's
So
that's the thing, is super
it's hard.
flex.
Yeah.
You know,
So I could see how this deal gets done if the Justin Herbert manager is a little bit frustrated over the past 2 seasons where he's just not been as available or been, a little bit fluky, having some bad games, down weeks and all. I could see that, but it's still hard to move on from a quarterback, especially someone who has, you would think, 50 touchdown upside. Maybe that's a little bit high. Maybe we're talking like 40, 45, but I mean, he came into the league and set it on fire his rookie year. So it's hard to bet against him. All right, so I got one more question here, then we'll dive into our dynasty targets. We got Vegetable Film 1373 asks, who's the wide receiver 1 in Houston? So now this is a Tank Dell or Nico Collins question. I want to give mine first because I think it might surprise you guys. Mine is going to be Nico Collins. Um, Tank Dell was amazing until he went down for injury on a play that he probably should not have been out there on, uh, blocking at the goal line on a run that made no sense. But suffered an injury, and I don't really care about the injury. He'll come back. He'll be fine. This is just more about the type of player Nico Collins is. He's a decent separator. He's a big play guy too. He's a possession receiver. He kind of does it all. He's someone that started getting some buzz early in this offseason as he could be the guy. He could step into this role, and he did. It's just there were some games where Nico and Tank, you know, they didn't play together all the time, and they kind of cannibalized each other. But looking at CJ Stroud and how well he did, it didn't matter who was out there. Noah Brown had a couple big games. So I'm going to go with the possession guy on a what looks like it's going to be another good offense. So do you guys agree or disagree with that?
I'm gonna say I agree with you. I mean, it's slight, it's kind of a question of who's healthy, because I feel like we haven't really seen them on the field together too much due to the injuries, of course. But no, yeah, I think I slightly lean the player with the more experience than Tank Dell, but Tank Dell definitely very much big play potential guy.
I'll say this solely to disagree. I'm gonna lean Tank Dell. Solely for one reason. They're both the same age. Nico Collins and Tank Dell are both 24 years old. I'm actually looking it up right now on my phone here. And obviously Tank Dell is younger. We got 1 year experience from there. Nico Collins now has 3 years of experience. In the league. The reason I'm going to lean Tank Dell is I feel like they both have a very similar ceiling to an extent, but the Texans, knowing this, also know that they have more time on Tank Dell than they do Nico Collins. And the Texans might try and finagle that more into the scheme that way because they know they'll have that piece longer in their system than Nico Collins. For all we know, they'll both be on the team, and that could be completely wrong. I think it's very, very close, but I'm going to lean that way solely because of that reason, the contract stuff.
See, part of the reason why I like Tank Dell, especially this upcoming season, is the contract year narrative, because he's going to be trying to make some money, and he's going to want everything. But
You mean Nico Collins, right? You said
Yeah,
Tank
yes.
Dell.
Oh yeah, sorry. Nico Collins he's in a contract year.
True.
So sometimes we see that make a big difference, especially in the running back market. Except this year was a little bit weird, but we won't go back to that. We're moving on in 2024, so here we go. All right, so now that it is Dynasty season, we have teams that are maybe not really active right now, looking at doing stuff, but this is a good time to start making some of these moves, trying to get some early targets that the market might be somewhat lower on based on recency bias from this past season. So we're going to go over a couple of those to see how we gauge those and what maybe you're willing to give up for those and what kind of shots you're taking. So, Chris, why don't you get us started here? Who's one of your early dynasty targets?
I'm gonna go back to the Reddit question and say Justin Herbert. Now I know what you're thinking, Chris. You were just saying how you would sell Justin Herbert for Chris Olave and pick 1.5, and you're completely right. And that's why, as Matt said, perhaps taking advantage of somebody who is a little not high on Justin Herbert because of the struggles between the receivers getting hurt, him getting hurt. Hypothetically, technically speaking, you could say this is an off year because he got hurt. There's been a lot of struggles in that Chargers offense, not on him, but on almost everything else around him. But you could definitely try and take advantage of that, and especially now, right? Obviously, you have Jim Harbaugh. I would honestly say that like doing it before Jim Harbaugh got put into coach would have been better, but you can probably still do it now. There's still a lot of risk. While I'm sure he's going to be a great coach, it is still like the risk is there. I'm going to go with it's either going to be fantastic, or on the other end, it might actually just be a garbage fire. It could crash and burn. There might not be an in between. Just the way that the team is built and what Jim Harbaugh is getting into, right? It definitely could be. So with all that in line, you could probably get Justin Herbert on a slight discount than you would think. That definitely, obviously, as the other two said, that trade might not be enough, but still, I think like if you have to go a little higher on the pick, or perhaps a different player, that might be worth it to you. Especially like if you're fine at wide receiver or running back, like who cares, right? You're getting Justin Herbert. I mean, the guy can play. The only down weeks he had like week 12 and 13 where they weren't that great, and then he got injured. The rest of the season, besides like maybe one other game, he was fantastic. But you can totally sell it as an off-ish year just based on everything else happening around him. I would definitely say that this could be and there's plenty of quarterbacks in this same category as well. I would definitely say take if someone in your league is, raving the woes of Justin Herbert, take advantage of that if you have the capital. This could be a snipe and a half.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to agree with you, man. It's gonna be a better year as far as what I see. And unfortunately, I think the price has risen since the coach coming into town. But no, I think now is the time, if any, to really try to jump on Herbert. Um, you know, because if it does actually strike gold and that team does take off and become a playoff team, that price is just going to go right back to the top, and you're just probably never going to get Justin Herbert. So pay it less now, pay it forward, help your dynasty team. No,
100%.
good idea though. I gotta figure out who has Justin Herbert in our league and go talk to him.
That's Warren. I'll be talking to him tomorrow. We'll see.
Hey,
The race to
Talking to him
Herbert.
tomorrow. Whoa! I better. No, we can't have that.
We
Absolutely
can't have
not.
co-hosts attacking other co-hosts here, all right?
Hold on.
Yeah, we'll
Better
see.
be on the messaging
Sorry,
fast
I
right
gotta go
now.
make a call.
All right, so I'm gonna jump off of you, and I'll go with my first guy here. I'm gonna target Ramondre Stevenson. Uh, just like we can say about Justin Herbert, same kind of scenario there with Stevenson with a poor season. He did get hurt with an ankle injury and was placed in IR. Only really played fully 12 games this season, and I mean it was a slow start. He was kind of inefficient, kind of it was very lackluster. Not really something you wanted to see from what you considered your RB2 the season before. So kind of unfolding that, looking a little deeper into it. I mean, this half of the 12 weeks that did play, the week 6 through 12, he did average about 14 fantasy points per game. So it started to get better. And it was going to come, what I think, into a snowball avalanche because that schedule really did open up. And Elliott did take advantage of that. We did see that happen. So I think Stevenson really could have been onto something. Now, buying the dip is what we just mentioned. This is the same thing. Buy the dip now. And in that, there is kind of the whole new coach coming in that we don't really know. There is questions as far as the offense as a whole, who's going to be the quarterback there. So it's a good time to pounce on a player, on a manager of Stevenson that is just sick of this year and trying to unload. So good things that are coming in is really the quarterback should be new. I imagine with the top pick that they have that they're going to draft somebody there. So we should see a good volume uptick for Stevenson as well as that quarterback gets himself situated over there in New England. And so yeah, it should be overall a great thing for him. And not to mention, like we said before, contract year, right? So contract year meaning he's going to do what he can to get himself a new deal. He's going to try to secure the bag. So Ramondre Stevenson should be on an uptick for this season. I definitely could see it happening. So buy it now.
Yeah, it's running backs on a contract year is usually you get a slight bump. That's one thing maybe I'll look at this offseason since we have a little bit extra time. Look at some of these guys that have been in contract years and see what kind of a percentage jump in fantasy points they have. Little side adventure. I like stats, so
Actually,
it's fun.
That would be interesting to see, actually.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to do that, and I'll post that to our X account, which you can follow at X. We're at the Heroes FF. Check that out. We're going to be posting a little bit more there now. It's the off season. Trying
Shameless
to get
advertising.
shameless plug. That's what we got to do. But all right, so moving on here, I'm going to jump into mine, and my target right now is Mr. Kirk Cousins. He is a free agent this year. He has a torn Achilles, but man, was he playing great until that injury. He was just lighting things up. Him and Justin Jefferson were doing well. He was doing well with Addison, Hawkinson. That team was running through the passing game. If he signs, and he's already come out and said that he would take a hometown discount to stay with the Minnesota Vikings, to stay with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson, I think he does stay. I think the the Vikings are not in a position where they're going to want to really go after another guy. When you have someone, he could be a bridge quarterback, but they could draft one of these guys in the league this year in the draft, move up and get somebody, have them sit behind him for a year, learn, do what the Packers have done for the past 50 plus years, and just draft a guy. And here you go, you're going to sit until you're ready, and then boom, star. Man, do I wish the Giants were like the Packers with that, because they haven't had a quarterback in like 50 years. It's rough. It's not cool for us, but you could probably get him for a second round pick because he is older. He's coming off the injury. It's uncertain. So this is the time to capitalize on a manager that might be worried that this is the end of Kirk Cousins. Go get him on your roster. He could probably help you no matter what team he goes to. He's probably going to be the starter if he's healthy, which all reports kind of have come out from Minnesota saying he should be good to go. So why not put someone like that on your team that can help you and potentially carry you through the season? He may not win you the league, but he sure as heck going to help you get there, get to the championship, because he's a pretty solid quarterback. If he goes back to Minnesota, he's going to have a wonderful, wonderful crew to throw the ball to. So I like Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just want to also shout out, I love the way you open that. You go, Kirk Cousins, he's got a torn ACL. All right, $1, $2, ACL, ACL. It's like,
Facts.
nice. Nice.
Just in case anyone didn't know, Kirk Cousins has a torn Achilles. So
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
here to
Achilles, not
inform.
ACL.
Yes,
My
I'm here
apologies.
to inform
You don't-
on
everyone.
injury.
You don't think there's a world where he just doesn't come back?
Not to me. I mean, he wants to play. He's come out saying he wants to play. It's the only thing I can think of that might happen is if a team just doesn't want to give him a chance. But his best location is Minnesota. I mean, I would
Justin
think he wants to go
Jefferson
back there.
said.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson said he wants to play with him. I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's like your guy.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Kirk. He's a great guy, but I'm curious. He's a little older. Serious injuries come back from. Guy's got a family and all. So I'm sure it might cross his mind, but I don't know. I don't know how football brains work. I guess
I think he's got at least
Tom-
one more good season.
Tom Brady
that
did
football side
retire
brains.
and then unretire. So who
Football
knows?
players, I meant.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely food for thought. We can kind of keep an
Mm.
eye out and definitely monitor what they're doing. I mean, they are a candidate, the Vikings are, that is, to draft one of these quarterbacks coming out this year. So if they move up, then that might be a little bit telling. But for right now, I just think one more good year of Kirk will be enough for me to justify sending a second round pick to go get something going on your team.
So no Jaron Hall, huh?
Nah.
Joshua Dobbs to the moon. Come on.
Another bench
Come on.
review.
No.
He gets like 3 good games, and then the 4th game it's like, oh, time to turn back into a pumpkin. And that's it.
You can't stay in space forever.
No, you can't.
The astronaut has landed.
All right, Chris. Let's go for number 2.
Yeah, I got one. We got T. Higgins. All right. A little, yeah. Matt High is, really getting really hyped. Joe is somewhere
I love
cursing
me
me
some
off.
T. Higgins. I love me some T. Higgins.
So let's break it down. I feel like some obvious and some not. Obviously, we got the injury plague seasons, especially this one between him and also Joe Burrow. It's resulted in a bit of a lackluster season, and following the trend, we are on the buy low train. This is like probably one of the poster childs for buy low, right? We know he's going somewhere. His contract's up. He's going to be signing somewhere else. My guess is that he's probably not going back to the Bengals. Is my guess. That's my hot take currently. Probably going to a different team. This is definitely a buy low candidate. Because of that, you don't know where he's going to end up. He could end up on a horrible team, or he could end up on a really good team. Truthfully, I'm not too sure. If you feel like taking that risk now, go for it. I don't think I would blame you, because you're definitely going to be better off now paying, I don't know, maybe a mid second or lower tier second for him or something like that. You get him on your team, you put him on there, right? If he goes somewhere like insane, all of a sudden, like imagine the Chiefs. How sick would that be? Right? How amazing would you feel? If he goes to the Giants, you're probably hating yourself, but that's the kind of stuff you gotta weigh on your mind, right? The risks you have to take. That's the fun part. So definitely a risk, 100%. But if you have the capital and you're telling yourself, hey, like this probably T. Higgins has a very good chance it's only going to be like your wide receiver 2/3 or a flex player. I mean, in my head, that's where he's going to fit in. Finding very good flex players is very, very hard. A good, consistent flex guy to like wide receiver 2 or 3. This could be him. If you have the capital and you feel like taking that risk, I'd say go for it. Why not? But before he signs anywhere, like this is the time to do it. Last thing you want is for him to sign to somewhere, like I said, the Chiefs, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I'd like a low tier first, please, and maybe something else. Like, no, he's not gonna be worth that because of the injury risk. But if he can get past the injury and on a good team, you're living big. You love life.
Yeah, I've seen recently him. There's been some buzz that he is going to Carolina or Tennessee, and I don't really like those for him. But the Chiefs are out there. The Ravens are out
See,
there. Like these
I don't.
teams could
Yeah,
use his skill set.
I don't mind Carolina too much, because as much as obviously Bryce Young has not turned into like the greatest aspect, like the prospect of all time, into fruition. However, I'm not going to say it's all his fault. You have like a horrific line that you're dealing with. It's not giving him any time or space at all. Right? You do some upgrading there, and you also get T. Higgins. The weapons there. I mean, obviously, what, first half of the season, Adam Thielen looked like a god, right? And Bryce, that was Bryce Young's like guy. I would say T. Higgins is better than Adam Thielen, in my opinion. So if you just throw a better receiver in there, maybe a bit of an extra, some upgrades at the line. I'm not saying the Carolina Panthers become insane, but it wouldn't be the first time the Carolina Panthers had a really good player, Christian McCaffrey, and sucked for many, many years. So all I'm gonna say is all I'm gonna say.
That's true. Very true.
Well, for your sake, I hope you're right, because I have T. Higgins and I want him to do good.
Yeah. T. Higgins, just go somewhere good, man. You deserve it. Go make the money. Just
or stay in Cincy.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
It's not a
I'm
bad
okay.
move. Not a bad move.
Right on. My next guy, because I will just carry us on as I do, is going to be Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts,
You're committing
tight
some
end
sins.
14
You
on
are
the year.
committing sins.
Kyle Pitts. The days of Arthur Smith are done. So let the Angels sing. It's going to be better days. I promise. There's going to be better days. I promise. I can't really promise that, but I'm really hoping. I'll tell you.
Oh, you can promise it. You know how we should all feel right now? This is how we should all feel.
That's how it should feel. You're right. One day I'll be able to hear those noises. Anyway, so yeah, back to Kyle Pitts. So I mean, I think right now you're going to be able to get him for pennies on the dollar, seriously. And why not? Because for what you probably are going to have to trade to get him, I think it's worth it. The chance of Kyle Pitts actually taking off are slightly not zero anymore due to new head coach coming in, Raheem Morris. We got Zach Robinson as the new offensive coordinator. I like these hires. I mean, Robinson has been there since 2019. You know what the Rams have done in these past few years while watching them. They have some fire behind them. So what's not to like? I think in if he can bring some of that over to Atlanta. I hope that I mean, really what it comes down to here, this Kyle Pitts buy is just because we're really hoping that we get a solid quarterback here. Whether it be Justin Fields, I think Justin Fields in this offense would tremendously help Kyle Pitts. I mean, look at Cole Kmet, tight end 7 on the year. That's not tight end 14. So we're already doing better. So I mean, if Justin Fields can come over here, if we can get some sort of quarterback that can do something, I think Kyle Pitts can really pay off, and he's super young. So yeah, if you can get him, I'd suggest totally trying to at least give it a shot.
I think that'd be good. What would you give up for him right now if you had to
Me?
put a value on him? Yeah.
I mean, if I was to like message the Kyle Pitts owner, I'd probably start with a third and a lower player and be happy to settle with a second and maybe a lesser player. But
I agree.
that's
I think
just
that's a
because
good valuation.
I think I have a little bit more higher value on Kyle Pitts. I mean, you can find some down in the dumps Kyle Pitts owners that'll probably just take that third and run.
Yeah.
But I'm under the impression, I believe Joe is our Kyle Pitts owner, correct?
Yes, he
Right.
is.
Yeah. So he's on some like top tier copium. I gotta be honest. He's been on that thing for like 2 years now. Like it's almost on life support at this point.
Yeah.
I
We're one
guarantee you
more
he's not taking anything less than a second for
Oh,
Kyle
yeah?
Pitts. I guarantee
Give
it.
it 2 more Kyle Pitts bad performances, and we're getting a third for that bad boy.
You got to find the person who hasn't seen the news bite that Arthur Smith was fired, and then go to that guy and be like, "Hey, I'll give you this. Arthur Smith is still there. Here you go."
Arthur Smith is still there.
Yeah.
You have to lie to their faces.
Yeah. Hey, fantasy football could be brutal.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
Trust me, I'm aware.
You
No, I
invite
agree.
them over. You have a game on of just Kyle Pitts just playing bad with
Kyle
last
Pitts
season.
sucking highlights.
Oh, you just send those daily. That way, it's just like, hey, remember, it's your morning wake up call. Kyle Pitts and Arthur Smith ain't fun. This is
Here's
who
my
you have.
third.
Yeah, take this random rookie that I don't even know who it is and don't know what it's going to do. But here, I'll take your Kyle Pitts just in case. They might go for it because, I mean, I had Bijan and I was hurt very, very frequently having a Bijan, and that was one season. You've had multiple seasons with Arthur Smith and Kyle Pitts. So, yeah, that's a good call. I like that call a lot. I might have to have a conversation with Mr. Capozzi over there.
No, yeah, I completely agree. I am definitely I'm getting high not only on Kyle Pitts but also the some of the other Falcons on that side hoping that there's change. There's still the question of quarterback that I would love to have answered, but I feel like if you are trying to trade, you want to trade before that question gets answered and hope it's a really good answer.
It's got to get better. I read a stat that said that Kyle Pitts had the worst catchable target rate for any tight end, excuse me, with at least 50 targets.
Woof.
Sounds about right. It looked like it. That's for sure. It was just air balls like nowhere. He's just like, all right, I'm not that tall, but the only saving grace here, I think, with the Falcons organization is they performed like a major exorcism and got rid of Arthur Smith. So they have a they hired a good coach. In my opinion, I think he's going to be a good coach. So I think we should hopefully get some semblance of normalcy to expectation versus reality, which we've all kind of just been left wanting more and never got it. Now I think we have the opportunity to actually get it. So we will see. Speaking of opportunity, I'm going to go here with Kendre Miller as my dynasty target currently. Plays for the New Orleans Saints. Rookie season was basically nothing to write to your mother about, but the offseason buzz that he had coming into this year, where the coaching staff and everyone was saying, he's the guy that we want to get more involved. Like, we can use his skill set. He's a pretty good back. He's got good style running, and he fits this team, I think, pretty well. Now, Alvin Kamara is still the running back there, but they could save about $12 million on the cap if he's a post June 1st cut. Now, with that is the Saints that we said it, I think last year, you and me, Rich, on one of the shows, like the salary cap is made up and the money doesn't matter. Because they're like a negative 80 million against the cap currently. Now, a lot of that
isn't real.
Yeah, exactly. It especially for some teams, they just find more and it doesn't matter. But they have to do something to get below the cap by the start of the season. And finding ways like this, Kamara could take a pay cut. I don't know if he will. They might just cut him and then say, here you go. But we did see in week 18, I know it's week 18, so some things don't really translate to regular season versus that week specifically, but we did see a flash. He was pretty good. He averaged over 5 yards a carry. He had 13 opportunities and for like over 70 yards. He can run. And that was a game where they needed to win. So it wasn't just something that it just happened out of nowhere. It was fluky. I think that's who they want him to be. Now, let's say they do move on from Alvin Kamara. Not Jameson Williams. Williams is there. Why am I blanking on his Jamal? Wow.
Gotcha.
One of my favorite running backs, and I'm blanking on his name. It must be late. Jamal Williams is still going to be there. He's under contract, but he was injured this year, didn't really get run. I know they got him that touchdown. That was wonderful. That might have been what got Arthur Smith fired. So thank you. But you could probably send a third, late second, and potentially get him because the manager who has him didn't get the rookie year, and it's a running back specifically. The running backs don't last in the league that long unless you're Christian McCaffrey. So time is short on these guys. They might say, okay, I'm going to cut my loss. I'm going to go figure out something else. So it's worth approaching the manager and having a conversation of what they would give up for him or what they would take for him. And then it might be worth it. His value next year, as soon as Alvin Kamara is cut, if he is, his value goes up tremendously. So why not try to get him now while there's still some uncertainty? I'm realizing now that my guys are a little bit lower on the totem pole, I'm trying to take small shots right now because I don't know anything about what's going to go on and, different situations. But these are shots that could easily pay off for you and be the difference maker on your team. So why not make them? Because they don't cost a lot. They're not going to set you back because it's a third round pick is garbage. You can throw it in the trash and set it on fire usually. So I'd rather take a player than a pick. So
no, agreed, 100%. I'm looking at his stats right now, right, regarding his rookie season, right? So I see like we have 2 stand out games, right? Obviously the week 18, he did pretty well. Week 5 against New England, He had 12 carries for 37 yards, not the greatest, but he had 4 targets for 4 receptions and 53 yards, which is pretty good. He caught every single target that he was thrown at him. But most notably, which is why I don't think you should give up on him, he got injured. They sent him out from weeks 10 to literally 18. He played week 18. He did not play a single game weeks 10 through 17. Probably for the reason that Matt has said. The Saints like him. They want to incorporate him in the future. The last thing, they know there's a ticking timer on Alvin Kamara. They know that he's not going to be here forever. And they see something in him, and they think that maybe this could be the guy. This could be. Am I going to say he's going to be as good as Alvin Kamara? No, but he could definitely fill that role to a certain extent.
So you want to take my second? I just realized you have him. So
I know, that's why I said that. I went,
We'll
I
have some
have
fun.
that player.
We'll see. But yeah, no, it's just someone of his skill set. He came into the season injured too. So this year, I'm not writing it off altogether because those are genuine concerns, especially at the position he plays. But you got to give him a fair shake. You know, you can't write off a season because he was injured. Otherwise, we would have done that with Christian McCaffrey because he had 2 injury-plagued seasons. But you still take a shot on talent, and I do think he has talent. A little bit lower draft pick, but you know, it's someone I think is worth a shot and could pay off for you in a big way. So, but those are our early Dynasty targets. They will obviously change probably 10 times until, you know, in the next 3 weeks because there's a lot of things going on. But as far as our show, we, as you know, are not going anywhere. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to be here mostly once a week. Sometimes we'll do a couple shows. Depends on schedules and different things that go on. But we are here. You can find us on YouTube. You can look at us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're everywhere you get your podcasts. Please like, share, subscribe. Leave us a review with a question on any of your podcast platforms, and we will read them on the show. And we'll try to put together a mailbag show because I know there's a lot of questions that are going to be coming in now that we are getting close to rookie season with the free agents and all. So there's a lot of football to talk about, and we're here for everything. So I think that's going to do it for us. So we will catch you all on the next show. So long.
See you around.
Goodbye.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at TheHeroesFF.